I thought I found my soulmate, but after one secret and a family that won't leave me alone, my life feels like a prison. My 27F husband, 29M, and I got married this year after a few years of dating. It was a rough start because of the bachelor party. We agreed a simple dinner and activities in the afternoon for both. No bars, no clubs. We agreed, literally came from him. He obviously went to the bars and clubs, and more was in the plans, and then requested all his friend keep it a secret from me. I found out, it blew up, almost didn't get married. We decided we'd move back to his hometown to have a more quiet life after the wedding. His parents had an empty house available, so we moved there, about 5F'd from his parents. I was concerned with being so close to his parents because they always try to be very involved and cause us issues in the relationship. But my husband promised he would shield me from that and try to give me as normal as a life here as possible. Just for context, I wanted to move to my hometown, bigger, better options for schools one day, etc. But he wanted to save money and move into this house, so I gave in. The reality of living here is that I feel like I've lost all my privacy and, in part, my independence. Every topic or issues becomes a family touch community issue. He talks to his family about everything, lets them know everything. A simple delivery man coming to the house to deliver something big ends up in a huge discussion with his parents because they butt in and want to do help. I come home, his parents are there to greet me. We leave for a trip. He goes to give his mother a kiss goodbye and tell her where we're going, how, and when we come back. The mailman leaves my mail at his parents'. His aunt is trying to decorate our house for us. And just the other day left a plant at my door and said she has bought more because houses need to be decorated and she wants to do it. His other aunt needs something delivered and we're leaving the house? Of course we'll go drop it off. I am unwillingly part of a community. Now to some people this might be perfectly fine. But I'm the person that has no social media, tells no one about my life, likes privacy, independence, figuring things out alone. And I discuss this with my husband. He is aware of this, but he doesn't care. I feel betrayed. What can I do? I've talked to him, but he doesn't understand me. Update 1. So after everything that's been going on, I decided to take some action because I was honestly getting fed up. Living here has been like being part of a reality show where I never signed up to be a cast member. I mean, I can't even get a delivery without it turning into a family meeting. Anyway, I sat my husband down again and tried to explain how much this was affecting me. I told him straight up, look, I'm losing my mind here. I need some privacy. I need some boundaries. And I wasn't even mad at this point. I was just tired. He listened, kind of nodded along, and said, okay, I get it. I'll talk to them. I thought, great. Maybe we're finally getting somewhere. But then, of course, he didn't actually talk to them. What he did do was decide to tell his mom that I was feeling a little overwhelmed and to maybe give us a bit of space. You know what she did? She came over more. She brought me cookies and said she was sorry if she was overstepping and that she just wanted to make sure I felt loved and supported. I mean, cookies are nice, but they were guilt cookies. That wasn't even the worst part. The next day, his dad stopped me in the driveway and asked if I was okay. He started going on about how it's a big adjustment moving here and how they're just trying to make me feel at home. It turned into this whole thing where I had to stand there and reassure him that I wasn't ungrateful and that I appreciated them. Meanwhile, my husband was inside, probably watching YouTube or something. Then there's his aunt. The one who's basically taken over decorating my house. She showed up with a sofa. A whole sofa. I came home from work, and there she was with some delivery guys putting a floral sofa into my living room. I didn't even know what to say. I asked her, "What's going on?" And she said, "Oh, your living room was looking a little bare, so I thought I'd help out." Bare? I literally picked out the furniture myself. I told her I appreciated the gesture, but I didn't need any more furniture. She just smiled and said, "Oh, it's no trouble. Family is here to help." I texted my husband, and he responded, "Just let her do it. She means well." So now I have a floral sofa that I didn't pick, don't like, and can't get rid of because it'll hurt her feelings. Things really hit a breaking point last weekend. My husband and I had planned a date night, which is rare because we've been so busy with the move and settling in. I was actually excited about it. We were supposed to go to this cute little restaurant a few towns over. I got dressed up, we were about to leave, and then his mom called. Apparently, his uncle needed help moving something, and my husband volunteered us to stop by on the way to the restaurant. I was so mad, I told him, "Can't they ask someone else? We have plans." But he just said, "It won't take long, and they really need help." So we went. And guess what? It did take long. By the time we got to the restaurant, our reservation was gone, and we ended up eating at a diner instead. He didn't even seem to think it was a big deal. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just kept thinking about how every time I try to talk to him, it's like he doesn't take me seriously. He says he'll fix it, but nothing changes. I don't even feel like I have a partner right now. It's more like I married a guy who's still attached to his mom's apron strings. So I decided to test something. I stopped telling him things. Like, completely. If I ordered something online, I didn't mention it. If I made plans with friends, I didn't tell him until the last minute. And you know what happened? He still found out. Because he was telling them. For example, I ordered a bookshelf for my office. I didn't say anything to anyone. The delivery guy came, dropped it off, and an hour later, his mom called me asking if I needed help putting it together. I asked her how she even knew about it, and she said, "Oh, husband mentioned you were setting up your office." I confronted him about it, and he just shrugged. He said, "What's the big deal? They're just trying to help." I told him, "The big deal is that I feel like I can't even breathe without someone knowing about it." And he had the audacity to say, "Maybe you're just being too sensitive." At this point, I'm questioning everything. Did I make a mistake marrying this guy? Is this just my life now? I feel like I'm constantly battling to have even a tiny bit of control over my own life, and I'm losing. I don't know what to do anymore. Moving out isn't an option right now because of finances, and every time I bring up going back to my hometown, he shuts it down. He keeps saying, "We agreed on this. It'll get better." But it's not getting better. If anything, it's getting worse. The kicker? I found out that his mom has a key to our house. I didn't even know. I came home early from work one day and found her in the kitchen organizing my pantry. She said she thought she'd surprise me by making it more functional. I told her I appreciated the effort, but that I'd prefer if she asked before coming over. She looked hurt and said, "I was just trying to help. You don't have to be so formal with me. We're family." When I told my husband about it, he said, "She's just being nice. It's not like she's snooping or anything." But that's not the point. The point is that I feel like I don't have a single space that's mine. Even my own house doesn't feel like my own. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe this is just what it's like being part of a close-knit family. But I didn't sign up for this. I wanted a life with my husband, not his entire family. I don't know what my next move is. I feel stuck. Update 2. Alright, so things didn't just simmer down. They straight up exploded. After that last fiasco with his mom reorganizing my pantry like she's Marie Kondo on steroids, I realized I needed to set some serious boundaries. But first, I decided to get sneaky about it because just talking to my husband wasn't doing anything. It's like trying to yell through a brick wall. Nothing gets through. Here's what I did. I bought a fake security camera and put it up in our kitchen. It wasn't connected to anything. It was just for show. When my husband asked why I got it, I casually said, "Oh, it's to keep an eye on things, just for peace of mind." He didn't think much of it, probably because he assumes I'm paranoid or something. The next day, his mom didn't show up. No surprise pantry raids, no unexpected house calls, nothing. I thought maybe the camera freaked her out, which was fine by me. But then, later that week, I found out she was still keeping tabs, just not in person. I overheard her talking to my husband in the driveway while I was inside. She was asking why I suddenly needed extra security. She thought the camera meant I didn't trust her. And instead of defending me or explaining that it wasn't about her, my husband just said, "You know how she is. She's a little private." A little private? Like this isn't the exact reason I'm slowly losing my mind? So I went outside, interrupted their chat, and said, "The camera's for me, not for you. Don't worry about it." She gave me this tight smile and said, "Oh, of course. I just hope you don't feel unsafe here. We're all family." That word, family, is starting to feel like a weapon at this point. The next big thing happened at dinner. His mom decided to have a family get-together, and of course we had to go because it's tradition. I wasn't in the mood, but I figured it'd be easier to suck it up than to argue. We get there, and it's the usual chaos. His aunts talking over each other, his dad asking about every little thing in our lives, and his mom serving enough food to feed a small country. Then, out of nowhere, his mom goes, "We're thinking about adding a fence between our house and yours. That way we can just pop over without walking around the yard." I almost choked on my drink. "A fence?" I asked. "Why would we need that?" And she said, "Oh, it's just for convenience. It'll make things easier for everyone." Everyone? Who is everyone? Because I sure didn't ask for this. I turned to my husband, hoping he'd back me up, and he just said, "That's actually not a bad idea." Not a bad idea? I couldn't believe it. I said, "If anyone's putting up a fence, it's to keep people out, not make it easier for them to come over." That shut the table up real quick. His mom looked hurt, his dad looked annoyed, and my husband just muttered, "We'll talk about it later." When we got home, I asked him if he even cared about how I felt anymore. I said, "You promised me we'd have our own life here, and instead I feel like I'm living in a sitcom where your family is the main character and I'm the background extra." He said I was blowing things out of proportion, so I made a list, a literal list. I wrote down every single thing his family had done since we moved here that crossed a boundary. The decorating, the unannounced visits, the sofa, the pantry raid, the fence idea, all of it. I handed it to him and said, "Read this and tell me I'm overreacting." He read it, got defensive, and said, "They're just trying to help." That's when I lost it. I told him, "You don't even see me as your wife anymore. I'm just some extra in this life you've built around your parents. If you want to be married to your mom, go for it. I'm done." He didn't say anything for a while, and I thought maybe I'd finally gotten through to him. But then, the next day, his mom showed up with soup because I seemed stressed. I kid you not, soup. Like that was going to fix everything. I refused to open the door, so she left it on the porch. Later, my husband told me I was being rude and that she was just trying to be nice. I told him I was tired of people trying to fix me instead of respecting me. The final straw? His mom used her spare key to come in while I was working from home. I was on a video call, and she just walked into the room holding a basket of laundry she'd folded for us. My coworkers saw the whole thing. After the call, I told her she couldn't just walk in like that. She looked genuinely confused and said, "But I've always had a key. Why would I stop now?" That night, I told my husband that either she gives back the key or I'm leaving. He said I was being dramatic, and I said, "Fine, let's see how dramatic I can be." I packed a bag and went to stay with a friend. I didn't tell him where I was going, and for once, he couldn't run to his parents for the answer. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I should even go back. Part of me feels guilty because, yeah, his family is overbearing, but they're not bad people. They just have no concept of boundaries. But another part of me feels like I've been screaming into a void for months, and no one's been listening. If this is what marriage looks like, I'm not sure I want it. Update 3. All right, so here's how everything went down. After I left and stayed at my friend's place, I gave myself some time to really think about what I wanted. I wasn't just mad anymore. I was done. I realized that this wasn't about his family being overbearing or even about his mom having a key. It was about my husband not respecting me enough to have my back. I didn't feel like his partner. I felt like a guest in my own life. While I was gone, my husband called and texted nonstop, but I didn't answer right away. I needed him to sit with the silence and figure out what it felt like to not have me there. I wasn't being petty. Okay, maybe a little. But I was over being the only one trying to fix this. After a couple of days, I finally answered his call. He sounded panicked, asking if I was okay and when I was coming back. I told him straight up, "I don't know if I'm coming back. You keep saying things will get better, but nothing's changed. I need to know if you're willing to actually do something about this, or if you're just going to keep telling me to deal with it." He promised he'd make changes, but I wasn't buying it. I told him actions speak louder than words, and until I saw real proof, I wasn't coming back. He asked what I wanted him to do, and I gave him a list. His mom's key? Gone. No exceptions. Family visits? Scheduled, not random. No more sharing our private life with his family. If I wanted something shared, I'd do it myself. He needed to actually listen to me when I said something bothered me, not brush it off. He said he'd do all of it, but again, I needed to see it. So I stayed at my friend's place a little longer. A few days later, he called and told me his mom had agreed to give back the key. I didn't believe him at first, but then he sent me a picture of her handing it over. Honestly, I was shocked. I think she realized I wasn't playing around anymore. He also told me he'd had a hard conversation with her about boundaries. She wasn't thrilled about it, but he said she agreed to back off. When I finally came back to the house, things were different. His mom didn't come over unannounced. His dad didn't stop by to chat about random stuff. His aunt didn't bring any new furniture. It was almost eerie how quiet it was. But I still wasn't ready to trust that this would stick. I told him we needed couples counseling because, honestly, this wasn't just a family issue. It was a him issue. He hesitated at first, saying we didn't need a stranger telling us how to live our lives. But I told him it wasn't negotiable. Either we went to counseling or I was gone for good. He finally agreed. Counseling was awkward at first because he didn't want to admit he'd been wrong. But after a few sessions, he started to get it. The counselor pointed out that he was prioritizing his family over our marriage and that it was creating resentment. Hearing it from someone else seemed to click for him in a way my words never did. Now here's where the twist comes in. While we were in counseling, something came out that I didn't see coming. Apparently his mom wasn't just overstepping because she's nosy. It was because she didn't trust him. She didn't think he was responsible enough to handle grown-up life without her. That's why she was so involved, and that's why he let her be. It was like this weird, unspoken dynamic where she micromanaged everything, and he went along with it because it was easier than standing up to her. Once that was out in the open, things started to make sense. He wasn't just ignoring my boundaries. He didn't even know how to have boundaries because he'd never had to. He told me he felt like he was stuck between me and his family, but I told him that wasn't the problem. The problem was that he was supposed to be on my side, and instead, he was playing referee. Since then, we've made progress. His mom still calls a lot, but she doesn't just show up anymore. The fence idea got scrapped, thank God, and the floral sofa is finally gone. I accidentally spilled coffee on it, and his aunt said it was fine to donate it. Is everything perfect now? No, it's a work in progress. Sometimes he slips up and shares too much with his family, but when I call him out on it, he actually listens instead of brushing me off. And for the first time, I feel like he's trying. I still think about what would have happened if I hadn't left that night. Would he have ever taken me seriously? I don't know. But leaving forced him to see what he was risking, and I think that's what made the difference. I don't regret staying to work things out, but I also know that if he ever goes back to putting his family first, I won't hesitate to leave again. I'm not here to be anyone's second choice, not even to their mom.